Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. On today's video, I have a guest. He's a Dominican guest. All the time I have other guests, but typically they are Americans. I want to hear their perspective. But this time I have another Dominican, and we are going to talk about different aspects of living and not just living, but about the Dominican Republic. And his name is Jonah. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Doing well. I'm excited about this.
And I know that you was born and raised in the U.S. Is that correct?
Correct.
Where?
I was born in New York City. Grew up in Texas, but my parents are of Dominican descent. So my dad's from Puerto Plata, my mom's from Santiago, and
So you said
I'm
you
living
grew
my
up
dream
in
right now.
Austin, Texas?
Correct.
And for how long were you there?
I grew up my whole life. I went to school there, studied there, went to high school, graduated from high school throughout my 20s. But I always came back to Dominican Republic as a kid. So for me, it was always a fresher breath air, coming back to DR, learning about my roots, learning where my parents are from, and something I've always embraced. So, growing up in Austin, I always missed that sazon. Right, and food-wise, culture-wise, everything, and that's what kind of just made me always want to just give it a try, because I never lived here. The first time living here is as an adult when I moved here with my family.
Oh, okay.
So I never lived here.
Okay, that is very interesting. And how often did you used to come?
I used to come every summer, at least once a year. Once a year. As I got older, as I began to draw more interest in moving to Dominican Republic, I would come 2 or 3 times a year. And like Dominicans always say, yeah, I'm going to explore another part of the world, and we always end up coming back to DR.
And are you first generation Dominican American?
I am, yes. So like I said, my parents moved to the US. My mom went to go study at the University of Texas, and I was born in New York. They didn't like the cold weather, so they migrated to Austin. And yeah, so I'm first generation. And now my daughters are coming here. They're kind of like, what would they be? Because they're like first generation Dominican Salvadorian now that I'm thinking about it.
Was there a big population of Dominicans over there?
No, not at all. I was one of the very few. As a matter of fact, I always share the story that people always would say, oh, look, Dominica. I'm like, no, Dominica's another country, okay? Yeah. First of all, so it's not Dominica, all right? And people starting to get to, because where I grew up, it was a large Mexican population. So I was only one of a handful. People didn't know what plátanos were. As a matter of fact, when my parents moved to Austin, plátanos didn't exist.
Oh, right? So how did they make it without plátano?
Oh, my grandfather in New York would have to ship them from New York to Texas, right? So, and he would always say, ¿Cómo que la gente come aquí? Because he was used to going to the campo and being able to pick his food and have real food. And so when he went to Texas, it's dry, it's there isn't vegetation. So it was something that was different. So he would have to send it. But I was one of the few. And when Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire started the home run, and I think it was 99 when they had that home run series, when Sammy Sosa and them were going for the home run record. That's when people started to actually get to know what Dominican Republic was. But they didn't know about it before. They always thought I was either black or Mexican.
Yes, I've had some experience about that. So with what culture did you resonate the most when you was there?
To be honest, it's one of the things that I always say is it's hard because one thing about me is I always try to adapt to where I am. And so in Texas, being that the culture was either extremely conservative like country or Mexican, it was hard for me to kind of get to grow up with my Dominican roots. But once I began to learn about my Dominican roots, the music, the food, all that stuff, I began to kind of gravitate more towards it from a young age because I love lo tres golpes en la mañana, I love mi arroz habichuela, pollo guisado. I'll take that over, a ham and cheese sandwich any day.
Oh, right? Okay, that's good to know.
So I started to embrace it because I remember when I was younger, I think I told Jay this, my mom sent me to lunch with comida típica and I was kind of embarrassed. But now as an adult, I'm like, man, y'all are the ones eating flavorless food, and so for me now as an adult, I definitely embrace my Dominican culture more.
So your family, so your mom used to embrace the culture? Oh, that was
yes
something that you do?
No, I did because my dad, for example, my dad doesn't listen to bachata. My dad doesn't listen. He's more into jazz, and he doesn't listen to the. So I had to put myself onto bachata myself. So it was a lot of things that I taught myself because my parents I didn't really grow up with that I mean, my parents are proud of being Dominican, but it wasn't the, you know, typical that goes over there and wants to kind of like live in DR like in the States. They adapted over there, and that's how we lived. We lived in pretty much all predominantly white neighborhoods, so I didn't even have Latino neighbors. They were all white neighbors, so it was completely different.
So when you was in a school, it wasn't a culture that you say, oh, like, because my experience when I went to the States when I was an adult, but the most that I saw over there was Mexican. Mm-hmm. So when I was there, people used to think that I was either black or, well, black until they hear me talking. Then they thought that I was Mexican or Puerto Rican.
Oh yeah,
but,
yeah.
And then we just resonate most. I mean, the Dominican population that was there when we came over there, and then the Mexicans. That was all we got over there.
Yeah, and so it was a little bit different. But that's one thing that I think is kind of cool, though. I drew interest myself, so I did the research. I would come back, you know, as an adult, like after my parents stopped coming back as often, because they did. One thing that I do have to give them credit is that they did send me back to DR to spend time with my grandparents, to be able to learn where we came from. Now, when it was in the States, it was more of Americanized culture. I grew up talking to my mom always in English and my dad in Spanish. So that way I could learn the language, I could learn, you know, I could always have that. I have an apellido Gomez. Okay. So for me not to know Spanish, like, was kind of like, I had to know, right? But yeah, I mean, they love DR and everything, but it wasn't like, they weren't obsessed with it.
Okay, they were more like they went to the States. They were thinking in the States. They wasn't thinking in come back to the Dominican Republic.
No, they weren't. No, they were not thinking about coming back.
So based on what I hear you saying, it was important for your parents to keep you Dominican ID.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's something that they worked hard at, and I think they did a phenomenal job. And I challenge any parent that's out there in the U.S. that may be struggling, because, like I say it all the time, ni de aquí ni de allá. It's something that's really hard, but embrace it. Embrace where we're from. We're truly blessed to be able to call this place home. It's paradise. Exactly. And I don't think a lot of people understand how much beauty and value this place has.
You know, they haven't given the chance to value what we really have. We understand that after we go and then come back. I mean, at least for me, because you came, but me, I left and then I came back. So how did you used to see Dominican Republic when you was traveling as a young adult or as a child?
I mean, I've seen all levels of Dominican Republic. I've seen wealth, I've seen poverty. My parents' family well off, others were not as well off, so I've seen it all. But one thing that I do make clear is that for me, the Dominican Republic that I love and I hope doesn't change is like that campo feel where if the power goes out, like I enjoyed that. If the water ran out, I enjoyed that, because it made me learn and value things in life that many people don't appreciate. And so I think it's one of the things that has grounded me, has humbled me, because, you know, you see how these people that live in these, I don't like to call them, but people will say these poor neighborhoods, but they're wealthy in happiness. And when you begin to actually learn and value what life is really about, you can have $1 billion, you can have a 30,000 square foot house, but if you're lonely there in that house by yourself, with nobody that you can trust, or you have a health related issue that doesn't allow you to eat the best food or have a drink or have a cigar, you know, it's things that you really begin to think like, what is life about? And when I'm in those areas in the campo with the people that really have nothing, it makes me realize, you know what, I really don't need everything that the world has made us think that we need today. All the latest gadgets, the phone, the yachts, the boats. You know, I love it. My goal is to go to the campo.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly how I think. People don't understand that sometimes you don't need all that. That is when a lot of people, a lot of Dominicans have this opinion, oh, I don't want to live in Dominican Republic because we don't have this, we don't have that. They don't understand what they really missing. And it's that what you're saying. It's not all that you can have, all the power go off and this. That is something that you can enjoy.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, people don't give it a chance. A lot of people oftentimes, let's say they come from like the campo or something, they don't leave this plate, right, knowing that there's this whole balcony out here to see. And so if you're not someone that's willing to go out there and explore and see something new, well then of course your mindset's gonna be very limited. You're not going to really be open-minded to seeing new things. But if you go out there and you see that, if you can go to Pedernales, you can go to Jarabacoa, Constanza, Punta Cana. You can go to all these different places and you get a different experience in every single one. Learn about different foods in every region. It's beautiful, but a lot of people don't like to do that, and so that's why they have their limited thoughts and their limited beliefs on what Dominican Republic is.
Exactly. And have you no experience, but have your opinion on Dominican Republic had changed when you used to come versus now that you're living here?
I definitely see a difference. I see a lot more gringos here.
Okay.
Jay.
Yeah, that's one thing.
You know, and I say that in a way that to get the viewer thinking, okay, well, if all these foreigners are moving here, what's making them gravitate to Dominican Republic? What are they seeing that we don't see ourselves?
Exactly.
Right? So I don't say that in a negative way. I say that in a way that if you have people that are moving from first world countries to a third world or developing countries, what is it that they see in this country that our people don't see it, right? Here I see true freedom. I really see true freedom here in Dominican Republic. Being able to sit on the colmado, have a drink or whatever, play dominoes, like those are things that I embrace. Those are things that I hope that Karens come out here. I hope they don't change those things, right? Because that's just the way the Dominican is. Just little things that I don't think that we necessarily value until we lose it. We appreciate. So for me, it's important that we keep our identity, the fabric of what makes this place truly special, but also allow other people to come in here and enjoy it. But without changing it.
Without changing it, yeah.
Without changing it.
Even though that can be a hard part. I have the same opinion, but now since you mentioned the third world, what is it? Do you think that Dominican Republic is a third world country?
No, I say that for the ignorant people that are watching, all right? Because they refuse to accept that we're a developing country, and statistics prove it. We've had a growing economy in the last 20 years. If you can, and you look it up yourself. The IMF says that by 2036, if we continue, we'll be a first world country. Now, these are things that our infrastructure. We are an island that's maybe the size of Massachusetts. Check me on this. Massachusetts, let's say Delaware, one other state, right? But we have 7 airports: Punta Cana, La Romana, Santo Domingo, Santiago, Samaná, Puerto Plata, and they're doing one in Cabo Rojo, right? For an island, right? Our infrastructure, if you look at, the natural resources that we have here, we're not a third world country. If we were a third world country, you wouldn't have Bani gold going on. You wouldn't have these rare minerals of other countries trying to expose it. We are a wealthy country with wealthy resources. However, the media wants to paint us as this poverty-ridden, crime-ridden country. And I won't fall for that.
And the thing is, they keep with that agenda. Yeah, they keep with that agenda. Just keep it. Probably at some point, who knows? Probably at some point it was, because it was more, the development was there, but I don't think it is anymore. A long time ago.
I was impressed the first time I got on the train in Santo Domingo. I was like, wait, what? It was clean. It was efficient. I saw the amount of people. I didn't know. I hadn't ridden it until I moved here. El Teleférico, the first monorail in all of the Caribbean, the Teleférico in Santiago. There's a lot of advancements that are going on. Arajet with the new Dominican airline that now takes you to over 17 countries. So these are things that before you would have to go to Miami or New York to do a connecting flight. And now we have tourism. Tourism from Colombia and Mexico exploded over 300% last year. So there's a lot of growth that's going on here. We just have to make sure we don't lose our identity.
Yeah, that's something that we have to maintain, because that is one of the things that most people enjoy. Even also as a Dominican, that's what I love about my culture, is how we are. And you keep hearing for foreigners and people that visit over here, the one thing that most people like is the culture. And we have to try to maintain that.
And the people, like our people, one of the things that I love here is our people. How you can talk to one another, tu conoces tu vecino, like it's not cold. Over there, when I say it's cold, it's not like a negative thing, it's just a reality. You can live in the same place for years and not know who lives next to you.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Whereas here, you know your neighbors, you'll greet them, it's etiquette, it's a way of life here. And I think that's what draws a lot of people to DR.
Yeah, exactly. I kept saying the same thing every time they have the opportunity. We was living over there for so long, and last time we was in Florida, we was there for 5 years. We didn't even know our neighbors.
Yeah.
And people go to the elevator and don't even say good morning, hi. You even don't want to even say anything because everything is wrong.
And one thing that I think that people don't realize is that a bunch of those small things add up, and that affects your overall like mood, your mental health, like your well-being. And when you're around like sun most of the year, like it is here, it's natural medicine, right? You're eating good food, right?
Exactly.
It's like real food. So it's just like a combination of a lot of things.
It's a lot of positive things. And the people don't add those things up to understand that it's a better way to live, and it's just not one thing. It's a lot of things together.
One thing that I want to add to that is that people love showcasing negative. They don't like to showcase positive. I put a video up the other day, and it was about a group of students from St. George. They went to the Harvard speech and debate tournament last week, and they got first place out of over 5,000 students on a worldwide scale. And these are students that are coming from a developing third world country, and they're competing on a worldwide scale, and they're winning first place. So for me,
That
like,
were Dominican?
and they're Dominican.
Oh,
Right, they're
yeah,
Dominican, right? And so like I post that, and those things don't get reached because the people don't like sharing good stuff. They like to share like the bad stuff. They like to share like if there's like a fight or someone gets murdered, but they don't like to show like the accomplishments that the future generation, the students are making here. Because one thing that I can attest and I say is that the education system here is 1,000% better than it is back in the States, which is a big reason why it drew me here to raise my family and bring my daughters so that they could get an education here.
Okay, yeah, that is a very good point of view. So do you believe that the school system here is
I know it is. I know it is. My daughter is 6 years old. She reads and writes in English and Spanish. She's fully bilingual. A lot of kids are even learning a third language at 6 years old. All right, so it's one of those things that here they're advanced. My daughter had a 65-page book that she had to read the other day. She's only 6, and she had to write a book report on it for critical thinking. So it's things that I've received tons of messages, people saying, I used to live in DR, I moved to the States, I was advanced when I got to the States. People that have moved here saying, wow, this is like more advanced. So I definitely believe the school system here is way better than it is over there.
Okay, what school do they go?
They go to a private school here in Santo Domingo.
Okay.
It's Spanish.
Do you think that is the school system is better a private school or public school as well?
Okay, so here, let's be clear. There's a big difference between public and private schools, right? The public schools are going to be like public schools in the States. I went to one of the top public schools, and over there, it depends on where you are located because it all depends on your neighborhood. So if you're in an affluent neighborhood, public schools over there are going to be great. But if you compare a public school, because if you notice, in Naco, how many public schools are there?
None.
There are no public schools, right? So they're usually like in more like underserved communities, right? So if let's compare an underserved community in the U.S. to an underserved community here. I feel like the schools are gonna be parallel. When it comes down to private schools, I definitely think that private schools here prepare students much better. Kids are able to talk about world issues. Kids are able to talk in multiple languages, read in multiple languages. So I think that, for me personally, I definitely think that private schools here are better than private schools over there.
Okay. Do they used to go? Your kids used to go to private school when they were there in the United States or public?
They came here like little.
You're right to go.
Yeah, 3 months.
Oh,
3 months.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
3 months.
I
But I'm telling you from my experience in public school.
Okay.
Because I got a couple loose screws. No, I'm kidding.
Very good. Okay. I came in a moment that I didn't have those experience, and my daughter or our daughter just didn't have that much experience public school because she just went to 1 year over there, and then it was pandemic. During pandemic, they sent her home, so we didn't have that much experience going to actually the school system over there. But that is a good point of view for people or parents that are trying to move over here. That is good to know.
Yeah, and I also like to say that, for example, and I say this every single time because it's important to put things into perspective. When you talk about something, you want to compare apples to apples. All right, so a family that's usually moving from the States, like with a family, most of the times, I'm going to say that they are usually financially, stable. They have a job that's going to allow them to work over here, so they'll be able to afford those resources of the schools because it's not free either, right? Because you have some schools here that Carol Morgan is $28,000 a year, so it's not cheap. But most of the time when parents are coming back here, most of them have savings or are looking for that. So that's an additional cost I think parents don't take into consideration. when
Yes,
moving.
yes, it is an additional cost if you want to get that good education. So moving on to another question, what made you move to the Dominican Republic?
There were a lot of factors. I mean, we talked about like the culture and the people, but for me, raising a family, I've always wanted to raise a family here. I was scared of raising a family in the States with what are going on in the schools, the healthcare system over there, the food that we eat. It's a combination of things that made me say, you know what, I'm done with this. I can't take it, and I also wanted to try something different. You know, I've been living there my whole life, and I'm the type of person, I don't want to be 70 years old and be like in my bed like, I wish I would have moved to Santo Domingo when I was 30 years old, you know?
Well, now.
And I say that jokingly, but so many people let their life pass by because of fear. Mm-hmm. Right? And I'm not someone that's gonna let fear dictate what I do in life.
Okay.
I wanna be able to control those things. And so if you're scared about making the jump and moving out here, one of the things is that I can tell you is that I guarantee you your job that you're worried about will most likely be there, because the last job that I had is still available, and I can go back and fill those roles in, because it's hard finding people nowadays to work.
Wow.
So you can always go back, your city will always be there, you know, those friends, like that neighborhood, those things will be there. So if it doesn't work out, you can always go back.
Yeah, that is a good advice. I don't think you have anything to lose, just try.
And one thing that's important to note is that when you're wanting to make these transitional changes or these transformative changes, you also have to make sure that you don't get discouraged by sharing with other people your dreams and letting their opinions dictate what you do. Meaning, oh, tú estás loco, like, ¿cómo va a ser que tú quieres regresar a RD? Like, what do you mean you want to go back to Dominican Republic? What is there in Dominican Republic, right? You think about it, it's come from families, it comes from friends, it comes from acquaintances, right? And so you have to be strong-minded to be like, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna give it a shot. Because if I would have listened to what people had told me, I wouldn't be here sitting down talking to you. Because my family, my friends, everybody thought I was crazy. What about your daughters? You're moving to Dominican Republic. What about the safety? Atracando, like, right? Things that I'm just like, okay, well, that happens anywhere in the world. Crime happens anywhere in the world, right? To share with me one place where crime doesn't exist, right? It's how you mitigate those things. It's how you try to like isolate yourself from those situations so they don't happen. And for me personally, I said, all right, you know what? Let me go give it a year shot. And I'm going, my daughter's about to finish up her 4th school year here. And I don't see myself going back. You could give me $1 million, $2 million and a house, and I would not go back.
So you don't regret it?
Hell no, I don't regret it.
So that was so funny, because that was my next question, and is that what your family and friends thought when you told them that you were about to move to the Dominican Republic?
Yeah, they try to discourage me because they were unwilling to make those chances. And a lot of people, like regardless of what it is, whether it's starting a business, moving to Dominican Republic, moving to a different city, a lot of people don't take chances in their own lives. So they find it strange that you would want to do something different. And so they try to put their personal beliefs and their limitations onto you. And I'm someone that I try to encourage people to, you know, be the best version that they can be, you know. If you're moving to DR, don't try to live my lifestyle. Live what makes you happy.
Like, makes you happy.
Right?
Exactly.
If you like to live by the beach, live by the beach. Don't live in Santo Domingo. So it's hard for me to, you know, do a one shoe fits all method, because everyone's different. Everyone has a different happiness. Everyone has a different meaning of what, how do I say it? What makes them happy and smile and wake up every single day.
And that was so funny, because I have a similar experience. Like when I created another channel, which is the one that speaks Spanish. I haven't done anything in a while, but I did a video saying that everybody thought that I was crazy when I moved over here. And it's the same thing. People thought, why are you coming over here? Why are you coming back? Why you don't stay in the United States? Like, they don't understand why you make that move. And I always say, you have to have your own experience. You understand what is it that I mean, because you explain and you tell them that, but they don't want to hear that. They want to keep you in the States where you are good, is where you're okay, everything happened, and it's not like that anymore. So people don't want to hear the reality. They just want to keep living in that dream, in that dream that everything is possible if you're there. But they don't want to understand that here it can be possible too, or even better.
I said something the other day, and a lot of people were like, no. I said, if you're broke in DR, you'll be broke in the US. Being broke is a mindset. It's not about where you are.
Exactly.
Because unfortunately, a lot of Dominicans migrate to the US. They move to New York City. And they move to Washington Heights or the Bronx, where all Dominicans. I'm like, well, you didn't leave DR.
They stay 30 years. They don't speak even one dime in English because they don't change.
Exactly.
To get themselves better.
Exactly, and that's what I mean. It's one of those things that it's not the location, it's the individual that dictates their success. Because there's plenty of successful entrepreneurs here, people who are living well here in Dominican Republic that have never left to do business elsewhere. They go travel, but they haven't done it. And this isn't a dictatorship, this isn't Cuba, this isn't North Korea, for those that are saying it's not possible everywhere. There obviously are countries that have the limitations. However, we're talking about Dominican Republic, and that there are opportunities here.
Exactly, that's what people need to understand. There is opportunity here where you can make it happen.
And stop staying asleep. People are sleeping on DR. Wake up.
People need to wake up.
Hit that snooze button.
I hear some Dominicans saying that it's difficult for them to adjust when they move back to the Dominican Republic, and sometimes people treat them different because they were born or raised in the States. Do you feel, what is your opinion on that? Or have you feel any of those differences?
Look, I think that oftentimes people that say those comments are the ones that oftentimes don't adapt.
Okay.
I'll give you my situation. It took me a while to adapt here. Being on time, the way I dress, I like to usually be comfortable in t-shirts and shorts. Like, I know that shorts is a gringo thing. So if I wear my shorts, I understand now that it's not, I wear pants because I know that it's a cultural thing, right? So you laugh, but it's the truth though, because here, when people go out and they dress, if you're wearing flip-flops, that's a gringo thing. Dominicans don't wear flip-flops. So I think that one of the challenges that I give people that are moving back to the motherland is, adapt to the way things are here. Right? You can't have people want to have best of both worlds. They want the cheaper cost of living, and they want people to adapt to them. My grandfather used to say something, el pasajero se conoce por la maleta, right? And so you see, and I'll use a lot of the Dominicans that, I'll use in New York, because it's happened to me where they come here, they have all their jewelry on, they want to seem like they treat a lot, I'm not gonna say all of them, but the ones that come here with that want to act like they're better because they're coming with dollars. So I think there's sometimes a battle. It's like, what are you talking, why are you coming here acting like you're better? We're all one kind. Because I feel like, we said it earlier, Dominicans are very welcoming people. But if you come and you try to act like you're superior, then you will get treated differently. Now, something that I do know here, for example, that I don't like, because I'll be 100 with you, is that I feel that when I go to a resort, as a Dominican, I get treated less than as if I was a gringo. So now I talk in English when I go to the resorts because I try to talk in Spanish because I get better service when I talk in English than I do in Spanish.
Oh, wow. So you say service.
Breaking news.
So for the service matter, you say if you act like you're a gringo, then you...
Yeah, at a resort and hotels, because Dominicans, I don't know why, and it's and I did this as I would come I would do this when I would travel here, that I would talk in Spanish because I'm like, okay, I'm in DR, I need to talk Spanish, whatever. But I realized that the level of service was worse whenever I talked to them in Spanish than it would English.
Do you think?
But on a day-to-day basis, I don't see it. A day. But when I come on vacation, yes. At my daughter's school with other parents, I don't feel like I've been discriminated against. At doctor's offices, I don't feel like I've done that. But also, I know that if I go somewhere, I have to dress a certain way because, like I said, el pasajero se conoce por la maleta.
So you go back to the resort. Do you think that they treat Dominicans like that because Dominicans eat too much? They eat of the food at the resort? Or because they don't tip? I don't know, man.
Hey, that could be. Hey, but hold on. I worked in the hospitality industry, and let's not get it confused. Gringos don't tip either. But it could be a point. It could be.
Okay,
that's a good one.
That's funny.
It's a valid point too, though.
Yes, it is. Are there any aspects of the daily life that it makes you feel more fulfillment here that when you used to live in the United States?
Yeah, being able to drop my daughter off at school and know that she's going to come back to me without having to think about it. That is huge. That is a peace of mind that nobody can, that there's no price tag. And I say that because that's something that parents should not have to struggle with. That's not something that it should even be a luxury. But for me, that right there.
Yeah, that is a big thing. That is a big one. What is your opinion on Dominicans? They are trying to move to the United States to live the American dream or to chase the American dream.
Well, if you want the American dream, you stay in the American dream because the Dominican dream is different than the American dream, right? If you notice the difference, people don't move to the U.S. for a quality of life. People move to the U.S. for money.
To make money.
People are moving to DR for a better quality of life, for happiness. It's not money. They're two different dreams. Right?
Yeah,
so
it's two different things. That's true.
That's one thing that you have to really understand, that if you're chasing the American dream, it's money. The American dream here, it does exist. You can create businesses here, but you don't hear family, you don't hear a culture, you don't hear food, you don't hear a lot of the things that people migrate to and they gravitate them to Dominican culture for the American culture. It's always money.
It's always money. So what do you have to say to those Dominicans that are chasing that money?
Stay over there. Stay in the U.S., or if you're coming over here, come prepared. Come prepared. And if the U.S. is so great, then you should be prepared and you should have the resources and the assets to be able to make the move to DR. Because if you don't, then that American dream that you're living is false.
So what about the ones that are here now that are trying to go over there to chase it?
I would say go try it out. Like I said, it's like this. I can't be a hypocrite and say, oh, I'm going to move to DR and not try it out and tell someone that's here not to go over there. Go try it out for yourself. Because not everyone is the same, right? Well, there's three of us right here at this table. We're going to have three completely different results when we go over there. It all depends on the individual. Now, if you want to go out there and you have no plan, you have no resources, and you think that you're going to work a job that's going to make you wealthy, I'm going to here to tell you right now, that's not the reality of it, okay? All right? Si tú crees que, if you think your neighbor's going to give you a plate of food when you don't have food, that is not the reality of it, okay? You are going to be hungry. So it's a truth, right?
Yeah, that is exactly what you typically tell people.
And another thing is, New York is not the United States. Okay?
Yeah, we have to tell that to Dominican here.
Let's communicate this clearly, okay? All right? I dare you to go to Kansas, go to Iowa, go to different places and see it out, because
To go to
New York,
Alabama.
yeah, New York or Texas. New York is not the U.S. That's something else that I cannot stress enough. It's like saying Santo Domingo is all Dominican Republic. It's not.
That is what I typically tell people. You have to go and have your own experience to understand.
And if you go from a campo here, you can't compare it to New York City over there, because it's two different things. Compare it to a campo there to a campo here, over here. You got to compare apples to apples, like I mentioned to you earlier. Because I think it's unfair. A lot of people get biased opinions because they come from the middle of nowhere and they go to New York City. They're like, oh, this has everything. Well, go to the middle of Iowa and let me know if it's the same. And I guarantee you're gonna run back to your campo.
I think that for those people, they were sold in an American dream, or that's something that it used to be, and it's no longer there.
For me personally, I think the American dream used to exist. I don't believe that the American dream exists today. Home ownership is through the roof. People are graduating with an average of $40,000 in student debt. To afford health insurance, it's expensive. People are living to survive over there, right? So you have to make a solid amount of money. I think that a report came out the other day that the average American dream to be achievable is $400,000. So how many people do you know that make $400,000? Look how y'all's head just popped up. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? Right? Y'all both just said, what? $400,000. And so those are things that you have to put into perspective. People will say, oh, well, this guy just hates. No, it's not that I hate it. It's just numbers don't lie. And how many Dominicans do you know that live in Washington Heights or in the Bronx where Dominicans are making $400,000 a year?
All gonna be able to make that money. Or what dream? That is a dream.
Yeah.
You're able to make that money.
And so you have to also see then, why are these people, like I said earlier, why are all these people moving here? Right? Why are they moving here? They're moving here for a reason.
Yeah, the movie is just let's say foreigners like Americans, they move over here because you probably say they have a pension, they already made their money, they come in over here. But you also have other races that they come over here to move. You have Venezuelan coming over here that are moving over here. You have other cultures, people from other cultures that also come over here and move.
Europeans, Canadians, everywhere.
Exactly. I know the Dominican Republic has a bad reputation. I mean, from some foreigners, but especially, I'm talking about the Dominicans. All Dominicans, they talk bad about Dominican Republic. Like when you have some people that try to visit, or people that moving over here, they say, don't go to Dominican Republic because this, don't go over there, just be careful, these things like that. What do you think about that?
I think that's just ignorance. I mean, 100%. It's not perfect. Things happen here, but at the end of the day, you know, I always challenge those individuals and ask them why. And most of them come from New York. And it's not to bash New York, but it's the reality, because I will have a conversation and they live in the Bronx. And I'm like, have you seen crime rate in the Bronx? You talk about safety, you talk about crime. So it's one of those things that I think it's the propaganda has worked so well to make us seem like we are this like terrible place, when in reality, when you step foot here, you see that it's a completely different reality. Right? And the stuff that does happen here, the crime that does happen, it's like I mentioned earlier, the atracos. They're gonna take your cell phone and they're gonna let you live. You can go to the store here without having to worry about being shot up. You can go to the grocery store, the mall, schools, movie theaters, hospitals. You don't worry about those things like you do over there. So when it comes down to safety and crime, I don't buy that at all. I don't buy that at all.
They are the first one telling some people, if you go over there, be careful. Be careful with this, be careful with that. Don't go over there because you're gonna get rolled up or...
They drank too much of the Kool-Aid. That's what happened. They drank too much of the Kool-Aid, and they think that, what cracks me up is that, for example, the U.S., right? And we're using the U.S. because that's where we're from, but the U.S. issues travel warnings to these different countries. Why don't these countries issue travel warnings to people going to the U.S.? There's a lot of crime going on.
So don't go because you can be shit at the supermarket.
Exactly. Why? I mean, that's not normal. Like that, and it's a reality. But why? Look what happened on New Year's Day in New Orleans, where that guy ran through the crowd. I mean, it's things that happen on a regular basis out there that, you know, people just want to overlook. But they become desensitized to it. So because they become so desensitized to it, when it comes down to a mass unaliving at a school or whatever, they want to try to now shift focus on somewhere else rather than realize the problems that they have in their own home soil.
And I typically also say that sometimes people have it, I'm talking about Dominicans now, that they typically have that opinion when they, for example, if they used to live in places like, like Capotillo, and then what they used to know is see over there was a lot of drugs, poverty and things like that. Then when they live over there, they feel like they're a little bit better, and then they think that the entire country is what they used to live over here, when it's not. But
let's use that example, right? Because remember, like I said, let's compare apples to apples. Let's compare Capotillo to, let's just say, the south side of Chicago. Let's look at which one has more homicide rates. Let's see which one has more gun violence.
I mean, all the point that you're gonna touch is gonna be more there than here.
My point, but that's the thing though. We can't compare Capotillo to New York City because they're two different things. Now, we want to talk about Pantini, we can talk about, you know, wealthier areas in New York City, right? We have to make sure that we maintain the focus on comparing the similarities between the two, because when you compare one area and then you want to try to compare it to the worst here in DR, we have to compare those apples to apples. So when it goes out to Capotillo, how many mass shootings have been in Capotillo? Like how many, like all those things. That community, they look out for one another. However, if you go to Memphis or you go to any of these other places, you have to think twice about stepping into these neighborhoods. And I know because I've been to Capotillo, I've been to La 42, I've been to the worst neighborhoods in Santiago. It's like I've created videos on those, and it's just like a big party. Now, the Dominicans here would be like, oh my God, you're crazy. But I'm like, you haven't been. I'm not the type of person to treat a book by its cover. That's just me.
Yeah, that's a good point of view. And what do you think about Dominicans that don't want to move back to their own country?
Oh, that's nothing wrong. I mean, everyone's different. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions. You know, I don't see anything wrong with that. If you, me as an individual, all I care about is for individuals to be happy, regardless of where they are in the world. And as long as you're a happy individual and your happiness is in the U.S., then I'm happy for you. You know, because like I said, this isn't for everyone either. You know, moving back to DR isn't for everyone. You have to be ready. You have to be ready to adapt. You have to be ready to change your lifestyle. You have to be ready to drop the shorts and the flip-flops, like, you know.
Well, depending on where you live, because if you live in Puerto Plata, Punta Cana, you are okay with it.
But that's a good example, right? For example, even if you go to Punta Cana, for example, and you go to a restaurant, like a no or something. You still have to dress up somewhat decent. You can't go in a flip-flop. Now there's an example that if someone that doesn't look like me goes in flip-flops and I go in flip-flops, they may not let me in. And that's when I have to turn my English on right there, you know what I mean? Well, what do you mean? I can't, that you are discriminating against me. No, I'm kidding.
So what are your thoughts on immigration? Because what I see over here, that every country have their immigration assistance because they try to protect their border. But when it comes to the Dominican Republic, it's always more like the issue is bigger than in other countries. Like that is not something that is normal. So what is your thought about that?
Okay, so this is a topic that I think a lot of people misunderstand Dominicans on, and it's something that I've actually been educating myself since moving here. All right, I think that regardless of where you are in the world, there have to be immigration laws. Right? There are legal channels of immigration that you can do, and there are illegal channels of immigration. Now, I think that when it comes down to, let's say, immigration here in Dominican Republic, everybody automatically thinks Haitians, right? Everybody automatically thinks that the Haitians are the only ones that are doing, that are here illegally. They're taking up all the resources, and there is truth to it, right? However, when other countries want to implement immigration laws like the U.S. is right now, it's not really looked down upon. But whenever there are roundups, whenever things are done with like Haitians, it's talked poorly on, but it happens everywhere in the world. And I think a lot of people want to focus on that negative thing because I think that for us, we create a lot of jobs. We've given a lot of assistance to Haiti. When the earthquake happened, we were there, helping them out. So it's not like we've been terrible neighbors. We've done a lot more than other countries have done for their neighbors. But like I said earlier, people want to focus on the negative. They don't want to focus on the positive. So when it comes down to like legal immigration, I feel like if you're migrating to the Dominican Republic, there's a legal channel and an illegal channel. And if you're here illegally, just like if you were to be like illegal in any other country, me personally, I feel like there should be repercussions. Now, every human should be treated with dignity. I don't believe in mistreating people just because they did something. I feel like we are a human. And at the end of the day, whenever we look at history, we know that the U.S., like anybody who's there right now, is pretty much that's not their soil. If you're not Native American, that's not your soil. So the same goes here, I think, as well.
Yes, because now like the immigration problem is everywhere. Like in the United States, they're deporting a lot of Dominicans now that Trump got in office. And I don't see people making a big deal or talking bad or bashing the U.S. because they put in place their immigration system. But when it comes to here, then it's something different. So what is your thought that people make that problem as a race thing and no an immigration problem?
Okay,
so they make it more seem like we are racist toward them more than a legal problem.
I'm glad you touched on that because I wasn't going to touch on that. But whenever someone says something is racist, I automatically know they come from an American mindset. Because I feel like that's something that's not talked about in other parts of the world. Like the word racist and racism is it's become so normal in the vocabulary of Americans. Where here, if I'm walking, and they say negra, like whatever, like
it's normal.
It's normal. Totally. Like you're not gonna get offended, right? Oh my gosh, she called me black. Like people don't, and it's such a divisive topic. When I moved here, I'm not gonna lie, my mind. If we had had this conversation a while ago, I would have probably had a different perspective. But as I educate myself, I'm like, man, this is a topic that I feel that is created to divide people, right? And when you start to do research and stuff, like let's just say the U.S., right? Native Americans, that was their land, right? When you ask an American when I'm in the U.S. and they ask me where I'm from, and I would respond with Texas, they're like, no, where are you really from? What does that question mean? Are you saying that I'm not American? I have an American passport. I was born here. I went to school here. What does that question really mean? I should be able to ask you as an Anglo-American, where are you really from? Because you're not from the U.S. What does your lineage say? You come from somewhere in Europe, but it's the ignorance and it's the wanting to feel superior to other races. And when you come here in Dominican Republic, it's not a race thing. It's not deporting them because they're dark skinned. It's deporting them because they're overloading the systems. it's because they may be here illegally, there's no documentation, just the same way they're deporting immigrants in the US and other countries around the world. So this is a global problem. Now, what they fail to also acknowledge is that what are other first world countries trying to do in order to help? I'm using Haiti as an example because they're our neighbors. What are they doing to try to implement and do positive change? And the answer is nothing.
No, they are trying to make our problem.
Exactly. So when you have a country that's barely getting on its feet, that is transitioning from a third world country to a developing country to a first world country, and then now you try to overload it with people that are not from here. And I'm not just going to say from Haiti. I'm saying from other parts of the world as well. It's something that needs to be addressed because people just want to make it a Haitian topic, and it's not a Haitian topic,
exactly.
And it's not about being black.
Yes,
okay, let's be very clear about that. It's not being black, because if you're someone that lives in the States and you see that as racist, what do you call what's going on in the U.S. right now?
So do you think that your time living in the U.S. influences the way that you think about the political and social issues here in Dominican Republic?
I've had to uneducate myself. I've had to relearn and see things from a different perspective because I think there's too much propaganda in the States.
Okay.
It's too much divide. They throw all these distractions at you so that you can be divided and and bump heads and not even focus on yourself. Right? Whereas here, there was an election and you didn't see the divide between people. People are going about their lives, right? Regardless if you voted for Leonel, Abinader, Abel, like whoever you voted for, people moved on with their lives afterwards.
Yeah, after that happened, everything is like back
People in the States are still crying about it. And that's why I don't like to even talk about American politics. It's not because I don't care, it's just too divisive. It's designed to divide. It's not designed to bring people together, right? And so for me, one of the things that I always say is you have to make sure, and this is one of the reasons why I love the schools here, is because a lot of the students are big on critical thinking, which isn't something that the education system teaches over there, because you're taught to obey over there rather than challenge, educate yourself. Why is the system designed like this? Why are we so divisive? Why am I arguing with you about something that I have no control over?
Yeah, exactly. That is what people love to argue about. If, for example, they want you to talk about it like it is something that you can do about it. Like if it's a political issue between Dominican Republic and Haiti, what I can do about it? What are I going to keep talking about in my channel about it? I mean, what I can do? I'm
going to use two examples, right? Let's use Biden. And then I don't want to talk about politics, right? But Biden was like, let's forgive student loans. We're going to forgive $20,000. He sent out the $20,000 and then you have to return it. All talk. And let's look at what Trump did today or yesterday when Trump issued the $5 million U.S. You can become a U.S. Resident now if you donate $5 million. All right? So what is that saying? It's like just 2 months ago you were talking about we have too many immigrants that they're taking our jobs, and now you have people that are coming with $5 million. Like, guys, and you're killing yourselves over this? This is all part of the agenda. So it's like when you step out of that matrix and you understand, hey, look, I'm neither Republican nor Democrat. I'm just an individual that uses common sense and I see through the BS. Then people think you're crazy. That's the worst part. Or they think you're a conspiracy theorist.
Exactly. So you have to use your critical thinking and think for yourself. That way you can make a good decision. And
that's why the public schools over there, one of the things, that's where the indoctrination starts. And that's why I put it below here, because I don't believe that the indoctrination here is as intense as it is over there.
So do you think the Dominicans are racist as a whole?
No, Dominicans are not racist. Dominicans are not, I don't feel like Dominicans are racist. Like, I think there's classism, right? There's two different things. There's classism and racism. And classism, I think that's one of the things that exists in the US, but people don't understand it. They see it as racism. And if I go to a boardroom with, my pants hanging down my ass and whatever, and I'm not dressed for the occasion, I cannot expect those individuals to take me serious, because you have to dress for the occasion. And so here, I definitely believe that there is classism, not racism. When you go to a restaurant here in La Capital, you have to dress a certain way. You can't go with shorts, right? At first, I thought it was ridiculous, but once again, the adaptability, now I appreciate it because I can get dressed up and look nice for my wife, and not have to worry about being surrounded by people that look like they're wearing pajamas and sweatpants when they're around here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, they say people wear pajamas to go everywhere.
Right? And so people think it's crazy, but now I embrace it, all right? If I moved here, I gotta look good. That's why I have to go to the gym, so my panza doesn't look up.
So my next question is, Dominican Republic have a unique, let's call it a unique way when it comes to people that visit the country, let's say foreigners, that they can stay, they have a visa for 30 days and then they can overstay. But when you overstay, then you pay the extra taxes. Yeah. And then if you do, what do you think about that?
It's something that I think has helped tourism here a lot, because in countries like, for example, like Colombia, you only have 180 days to stay. So I think it has incentivized a lot of people to move to the Dominican Republic. Now, I think that's a double-edged sword though, because if people are taking advantage of resources or whatever the case is, then it's something that I think that we have to also take into consideration, because it's not the race thing, it's about how much can we handle without breaking the system here. Whether it's through healthcare, whether it's through whatever the case is, you know, what can we do? Now, if it's the legal channel, but me personally, if I was ever president, I would change that, because, you know, I think it's something that we need to value, maybe making it like an investment program, which exists, but I think we have to be careful because it could bring a lot of problems in the future.
I know you mentioned that some people that overstay take some of the resources of the country, but a lot of people that overstay are people that want to try the country to see if it's a place where they can move, and they just overstay, which I think they bring resources instead of taking resources.
And someone else I'm not going to mention here. But now there are a lot of people like that. No, here's the thing, right? I think that it's great. However, what we have to understand is what is the impact that it's going to have on our locals? Okay. Right? It drives the cost of living up, right?
Yeah, I agree with
so now if you have somebody that's coming out here that's making an American salary and is living in the cost of real estate's going to go up, the cost of like the groceries. So those are things that we have to take into consideration, because what's going to happen is what's happening in Puerto Rico right now is like we're going to price our own people out. Because it's like, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to focus on the foreigner here because of all these incentives. Let's just say Punta Cana, right? If I go in there, I'm thinking, okay, well, you know what? 80% of the people are foreigners. Okay, well, now what happens to the people that live there in Punta Cana? They won't be able to afford groceries. They won't be able to afford places to live. They won't be able to buy properties. So what happens? Then we're selling our land to foreigners, and our people are being displaced.
Okay, yes, I agree with you on that one. And then I believe also that's why some of our prices have increased, especially in real estate. I think it's some of that foreigner coming over and then making the people that say, oh, you want to come over here? That's what we're going to sell now. And now have to increase some of the prices.
And to add to that, you know, there are a lot of people here, to be clear, that are doing good, that are creating opportunities. But if you're someone that's not helping out and making the communities better, or, you know, validating what that is, or paying a fee, I don't have the solution for it because I'm not in government, right? I'm just throwing ideas out there. But we do have to take that into consideration, because Puerto Rico is a perfect example. Like Bad Bunny's last album, Lo Que Pasó in Hawaii, you know, when the indigenous people got kicked out of Hawaii and, you know, priced it out. These are real issues that we have to think about, because what's going to happen is in 100 years, you're going to come back and Dominicans are going to be the minorities and the foreigners are going to be the ones taking over, because we can't afford it. You're going to have people living on the streets. They're not going to be able to afford where to live, because the cost of values and the cost of the goods are going to go up.
Yes, that doesn't sound too good. I mean, when you put it
I wasn't expecting that answer.
I mean, when you put it that way.
But Jay's okay though. Jay's okay. So the government's watching this. He has his sailing out.
When you put it that way, it doesn't sound too good.
But it's the reality of it though.
No, it's a reality. Yeah, I agree with what you say. It's a reality to it. And just well,
let's use Punta Cana for example, right? Or anywhere, but Punta Cana is where most people live, right? Let's use a hypothetical $100,000 for a house. Right? Let's just basic math. Most places here for new builds require a 30-40% down payment. We're talking about $30,000 to $40,000 US, right? Which is most in the average salary. So at this point now you're pricing out. You're telling the locals, hey, you know what? I can't really, like, you can't afford this place, right? So now it becomes exclusive. All right, so what happens to our people?
They have to.
Right. So maybe there's like a fee. Maybe they increase the fees. Maybe if there's like a tax that they put, like if you're not an American, because that's the other thing. Americans can buy here, which is nothing wrong. But can we tax? Can there be a certain tax for a gentrification tax? Because we've seen it in the U.S. where neighborhoods that are predominantly African American, Latino, have been completely transformed, and now you don't see anybody that looks like myself or like Jay. And what happens to those people? They're kicked out of the towns. They're kicked out where they grew up, and they have to replace. They have to, start all over again. And those are the things that we have to think about.
Okay, and let me go to my next question, which is, what do you think about? I know there is some upcoming areas now, like Pedernales, like they are starting to grow, and I see that a lot of foreigners trying to invest. But when I see the comments where they say, okay, you do a video, the Dominicans see it as a negative after, like we selling our country to our land. But at the same time, in my opinion, the only Dominicans that we have living in the United States and in places like that, they don't invest in our own country, but they also get mad if foreigners come and invest in our country. And I see the point where you're saying if we're gonna sell our country, it's gonna be nothing left for us, for Dominicans. So the first question is two questions there. So the first question is, how do you feel about these areas being gentrified?
For me, it's a love-hate, right? I feel like there's always two sides to a story, and that's why I always try to see it from two different perspectives. Mm-hmm. From the perspective of the locals and perspective from an environmental perspective, I hate it because we're tearing up natural land, for profits. And when you when you begin to involve corporations, you know that they value profits over people, mm-hmm. right? So once again, everything there is going to be exploited, and Dominicans are not going to win. It's going to be a foreigner. And
the second question is, what do you think the Dominicans are not investing in our own country? Because one thing is, it's like a love-hate relationship, like you say, because we want the country to grow. We want to see changes. We want to have a better road. We have to buy better things. But how that happens is when foreign investors come and bring money, because we don't have the money. So how?
But we could have the money though.
I mean, we could probably have it. We just don't know.
What we do, we have natural resources, which we sold it.
Okay,
to other countries.
We do have it. We did have a whole bunch of gold. What happened with that?
Exactly.
They sold it. Leonel sold it.
Now Rubio's here talking about minerals. They're gonna sell that.
They're gonna take it.
And now they're gonna mess up our sources. So for me, all right, how would I do it? Number one, we're giving these people tax credits and tax breaks. Mm-hmm. I feel like the government, the banks can come together, figure out how they can incentivize Dominican entrepreneurships by creating business loans. Mm-hmm. And creating, if you're giving a loan to another country, why not give it to your own people, mm-hmm. right? Why not create incentives that are going to motivate people to start businesses, so that instead of foreigners being there, they could be Dominicans, right? Mm-hmm. So, for example, we'll give you $100,000 for a business loan in a touristic area because they have Confutur. Mm-hmm. Confutur gives 15 years no property taxes mm-hmm. and capital gains, right? So, what if you can do something to where if you're not a Dominican, there has to be an extra tax that is paid, 1%. It could be minimal, right? Mm-hmm. Not to discourage, right? But those funds then be used to implement and create business ideas and invest them in projects and ideas that students here have. Mm-hmm. Or Dominicans have.
Yeah, I see the point where if we keep selling everything we have, then what's going to be left for us?
And that's what I'm saying. Like right now, what we have to understand as Dominicans, we have to look at the future. Mm-hmm. Look what happened in Haiti. Look at their history. Look what France did to them. If you don't think that what happened to them can't happen to us, wait to see. Anything is possible. Mm-hmm. We've been able to maintain this because of who we are. But as soon as people start to see dollar signs, they will come and they will exploit this. They will start blowing everything up. And the Dominican Republic, that the three of us know it here, it won't exist, mm-hmm. right? So we also have to be very cautious about that, because at the end of the day, that's where even as an entrepreneur, it's important for us to maintain the economic sanity and integrity of our land so that we can preserve it for future generations.
Okay, I agree with that. Next question is, I know that you live here in Santo Domingo, but you do a lot of things in Santiago. What is so special about Santiago that you have a lot of things?
Oh man, I love Santiago. Well, first of all, you saw how I was late? I was late because the reason why I don't like Santo Domingo because of the traffic. All right?
Okay. So it's no traffic in Santiago because Santiago
there is, but this is traffic on steroids. Okay, that's like baby traffic. Now, for me, Santiago, I like Santiago for many reasons. I love like where it's located, surrounded by mountains. It's Cibao. I love the people.
Okay. The
Like,
people are better than here.
I feel like,
different people.
oh yeah, they're
Than
more.
Santo Domingo
Yeah,
people?
they're more humble. They're more down to earth.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
I never spent a lot of time in.
Yeah.
I never spent a lot of time in Santiago.
Ah.
But what I used to think, or people used to say before when I used to live here, is that Santiago people, Santiagueros were more uppity. Like they feel like they were better.
No, it's because they're prideful, and I've learned.
Because you
they're
like Santiago, you changing how you changing how calling prideful when they.
No. She's putting words in my mouth. No, but como te digo, they're, por ejemplo, like here you won't hear people playing bachata or merengue much in these areas. But Santiago, you're típico. Like they embrace the culture.
Because you go to Santiago, but I go to Santo Domingo Norte, Villamella, that's all I hear. Bachata.
Yeah, but that's different though. But I'm talking about like, por ejemplo, like if you can, like, once again, comparing apples to apples.
If you go to
right, if you go to like Piantini,
yeah.
whatever, you'll still hear Perico Hipiao. And you'll hear like the típico, and the people are just
but
more
in
down.
Santiago, in good neighborhood, you
Yeah,
hear that
yeah, and so like
okay.
like you can tell that people they're more down to earth. Like here, it's like more a Miami vibe.
Okay. Well, I haven't compared that to that because here I felt okay. If I'm here, it's gonna be a different vibe if I go to the campo or if I go to Santo Domingo Norte.
No, La Vida is totally different. And Santiaguero, it's proud of Dominicans. Like I feel like the capital people are kind of too poppy. Right, and they're like, oh, like, no, like, and I don't like that, right? And so, like, for me, Santiago, it's surrounded by campos, Moca, Sajoma. So the people come from the campos y son más humildes.
Okay, yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense because I love the campos.
You see, so there you go. So that's why I like it.
To be in the campos.
There you go. You see, Jay, hey, she's going to Santiago, she said. No, I'm gonna tell. We're gonna go. I'm gonna take y'all so you can see it.
Okay, the next question is, I know that you the social media handle is J Give Back. How did you come up with that name and why?
So for me, moving back to DR wasn't just about reconnecting with my roots. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just about, the quality of life. For me, it was about coming back and making a difference. I've always been giving back. I've been doing this since before I started my handle. And one of the things about me is I love philanthropy. I love being able to make and improve. We talked about earlier, people love to criticize. I'd rather stay quiet and be the change that I wish to see. So for me, if I can make a school better or if I can help someone's life, something that can help them maybe change their trajectory, that's what it's all about for me. It's about helping and improving and leaving the world a better place. So, moving back to DR was for many reasons, but the events, I mean, y'all went to one of my events. We were helping someone that was raising money for cancer. We did schools. I adopted 1,000 kids for Christmas. So I do a lot of things to be able to try to leave a positive footprint here in DR. And that's why it's called Jay Gives Back.
Okay, that is a very good cause. Yeah, we went to that event and I enjoyed very much going over there.
And by the way, she's cancer free.
Oh really?
Yeah, she's
good.
She's battling, yeah.
Mm-hmm, because she is very young.
Second time, she got her breast removed and everything.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that she's better. I mean, that she's cancer free, no better, but just free.
Yeah,
it's good.
Absolutely.
How do you think that your story can inspire other Dominicans to reconnect with their roots or to make them understand that Dominican Republic is known like was 20 years ago?
Okay, first of all, I say that you have to change your mindset and you have to be willing to accept the differences. Right? If you're gonna come in here and focus on everything that's negative, then you're absolutely gonna have a terrible time. If you come in here with an open mind and you take it for what it is and understand that it's not gonna be perfect, because I think sometimes people wanna try to compare it to where they come from, and it's different. It's a different place. Like, if this was the same as where I lived in the States, why would I wanna leave, right? So there are things that I have to embrace their differences and understand and value. So for those that are like thinking about it, what was the last part of the question again?
That why would make you understand that this place is not like it was.
Yeah, just go out, see it. If you, what happens is a lot of times people come to DR from wherever. It could be the U.S., Spain. They've left the country and they go visit family, usually in the same towns where they grew up in, and they stay there for a week or two, and they don't explore the island. So you go to your campo, and you're there in the house, and then you think, oh, Dominican Republic hasn't changed because your campo hasn't changed, but you haven't gone. For example, like that's why I would love. You know what our video should be? Me showing y'all Santiago and y'all's reaction, because that would be a good example as to what it is. Asking people who are from there, hey, what is there to do, right? Going out and seeing different things, right? The touristy part, just like to where the locals go. Check out the parks, check out the museums. There's a lot to do here.
Yes,
right?
a lot to do. Yeah,
but if you lock yourself in the same routine, go to the same place every single time, you're not gonna enjoy it.
And you don't want to see like you say, sometimes, like, especially from places, going to the same places, they haven't changed anything. Like, in some areas here that you can definitely see the changes, but then in some other area, they don't matter how many years happen. Like, well, I was about to say La Duarte, but even La Duarte have changed. But you go to Villa Consuelo. If you come from over there, you go all this stuff going on over there. Like, it's a whole lot of mess. But if you left over there, you go back to you're gonna see the same thing. You say, oh, Dominican Republic hasn't changed. It's the same thing always. But this place has changed a lot.
I mean, just look around. I mean, I see like 5 helicopter pads on top of buildings. That building right over there, there's a penthouse being sold for like $15 million. Right, it's the most expensive.
Wow. It's
the most expensive building in Santo Domingo.
That's Las Casas.
That's Casi Cascos over there, yeah. So, I mean, you have all of these you have a lot of infrastructure here. You have a lot of things that have changed, right? Before, like, electricity and power used to be an issue. Internet used to be an issue. And for example, when you drive, I drive a lot. I drive, so I know the roads. And I can tell you that you can drive from Punta Cana all the way to Puerto Plata, and the roads are perfectly fine. You don't need an off-road terrain. It's not dirt roads. So it's changed.
It has changed a lot. And
if you haven't, it's because you don't know, you haven't gone out to explore, or you just don't want to accept the fact that we made progress.
Or you just keep over there, because what happens with some people is, especially some Dominicans, is they stay over there. They have come over here in 20 years. They haven't even come back over here. But they keep listening to what family members or other people tell them. Oh no, like the same story. Like, you always hear people say, it's no money, it's no nothing. Like, they keep repeating the same thing. And if you're there, that's what you keep hearing or watching the news. Yep.
But that once again, that's why I always say, go out, see it for yourself. You have 2 eyes for a reason. You have 2 ears for a reason. You have a mouth for a reason. Go see, hear, and taste, right? And you'll see that it's. I mean, we have really nice restaurants here: Pepperoni, Laurel, Lila. I mean, there's nothing. Look, it depends on what demographic you ask. If you ask Dominicans that live here in this area, there's no way in hell they're leaving here.
No, they're gonna go to.
There's no way. Like, for what? Like, why would I leave?
What I got right now.
But when you talk about the Dominicans that have left, they're usually leaving from rural areas, like I say. So it's important to understand the context and the individual and the profile of the individual who is saying that, because it's I don't like to generalize. Just like I say over there in the U.S., it's not that there's no opportunity. It's a very small group of people who actually break the cycle and create those opportunities for themselves. It's the land of opportunities, right? Business grants, right? But if you don't understand those things, you will never be able to accomplish it. If you decide to stay in your home, work the same dead-end job every single day, work 2 jobs, save, not invest your money, you're never gonna make it. So it doesn't matter if it's here or in the U.S., a broke person will always be a broke person, and I stand by that.
Yeah, because it's the mindset, like we say earlier.
And that's one of the reasons why I started my course that I told you, my mindset mastery, my elevated mindset, is because of that. I was working a $5 an hour job not too long ago. Like 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, I was working a dead-end job. I could still be working that very same dead-end job today had I not taken the initiative to change my mindset, to sacrifice, to try new things. And that's why I say the example that I say, like, I was working as a bellman. I guarantee you, if I call that hotel today, they will still have that position for me.
And now you mentioned that, I know people would like to know, what did you do to maintain your lifestyle here in Dominican Republic?
Well, one of the biggest things is that I had to change my mindset. Like I mentioned earlier, I was working $5 an hour. I had a fixed mindset. I had to understand how to change my mindset from a fixed to a growth mindset, so that any limitation that was put in my way, I was able to overcome. Any setback, I was able to, achieve. or to any setback I was able to overcome as well. And so for me, one of the biggest things, or for me, I set myself up to be in the position that I was in. In 2013, I came to DR on a summer vacation. I asked people around me, hey man, like I want to live this lifestyle. How much money do I need? That was the first step. That was asking the right questions is the first thing, because a lot of people want to know what I do, but by me sharing that doesn't necessarily help them do that. Once I did that, I started creating different business models that I could do to generate the amount of money that they told me. At that time, it was $5,000. Like, if you can make $5,000 a month, you can live like a king in DR. Then I started creating businesses. I started investing my money. And now I just let the money work for me. And so I created the opportunity, once again, in the US, which I'm extremely grateful for, because I think a lot of people think that I'm not grateful for. I'm extremely thankful for the opportunities that it gave me. But now I'm starting different businesses out here, different ventures in Dominican Republic. I do real estate investing. So I have a diversified portfolio that has allowed me to live the life I live here in DR.
Tell us a little bit about the Mastermind course that you have.
So the Mastermind course are things, tools, techniques, strategies that I implemented, that I learned by doing, or through mentorships that I've invested money in order to be able to help me live my best life. I kept talking about throughout this episode. I kept talking about people having to shift their mindset, shift the way they think, and that's such a undervalued, undertalked. It's something that's not really talked about, but makes such drastic changes, makes drastic differences in our day-to-day lives, and it covers goal set mastery, productivity, emotional well-being, how to handle stress, how to create habits, time stacking, eat the frog method, a bunch of different components that I had to do in order to mentally, be mentally sharp and be able to combat anything that's thrown my way. Because I think that when people think about starting or wanting to do this thing, they think it's one thing. And it's not one thing that allowed me to get here. It was the sacrifices. Like I said, people want to ask you what they did, but people never ask me what sacrifices that I do.
Yeah, it's a lot of sacrifices.
Right? People don't ask me.
Learning and doing the thing that you did. Like, always we and my channel, we share how from here we went broke over there to say the thing that James had to do to make ourselves, making the type of money that now allow us to live over here. Like the things that people don't want to hear that. Like you said, most of the time they want to know just now, right now, how do you do it? Like it is like one switch to another. It's not that. It's a process.
Yep. So the course, like I have every week, we get on a live and we break down different parts of it, 6 chapters, like I said. We break down every single thing. That way everybody works on a different thing. Because like I said, everyone is different. Everyone's unique. It's not like, but one thing that I am clear is it's accountability. So if someone is not ready to grow, if someone is not ready to be honest with themselves, challenge themselves, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I tell people, save your money, go invest into something else. It's not cheap. I charge $8.99 for it. But like I tell people, if you have an iPhone, don't tell me $8.99 is cheap when you for you to learn on how to become the best version of yourself. And you're on here most of the time scrolling through social media, doing things that are not helping you improve yourself. So those are all excuses. Exactly. So those are all excuses. So it's $8.99, and like I say, if you want to invest and you want someone to hold you accountable, it's worth it. If you're not ready for change, if you're not ready for people to be truthful, don't buy it. This is not for everyone.
And how long is the course?
It's six. So it takes about 30 days to do.
30 days, okay.
30 days.
So we're gonna put the information down in this video below, just in case people that are interested. What lesson have you learned to this experience that can help others, and even you, or other people or family members?
A lot of it will be in that course. But one of the things is come open-minded. Come with a plan. Be okay and understand that there are going to be good days and there are going to be bad days. How are you going to overcome your bad days? What are you going to do to mentally help you navigate through those tough terrains? And if you're able to do that, you'll be fine. Right? But if you come out here without a plan, without savings, without anything, it's going to be rough.
Yeah.
Right?
Or you won't be able to make it. You have to go back to your
Exactly. So set
life.
yourself up for success. And one thing that I do want to make, like what you said about going back, there's nothing wrong with going back, but don't blame DR for the reason for going back.
Not to be prepared.
Because if you came unprepared, you came unprepared from somewhere else. You didn't get to DR and become unprepared. DR didn't make you unprepared. You came unprepared, and that's important to know because when people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna move back," oh, it was DR. No, it wasn't DR.
You wasn't prepared.
That's
why
a
you need a plan.
Oh, you came out here with $1,000 savings and no job. Well, hello. Like,
how could that collapse? I mean, I know people that they're gonna give last you one day. I mean, you're gonna spend that some hours.
Exactly, especially here in Santo Domingo.
Yeah.
So that's a tip I would give.
Always you need to be prepared. You need to have a plan. If you trying to anything, it's not just even moving back over here or trying to move to another country. You need to have a
vision.
Plan for anything that you're gonna do if you wanna make it work.
Yep, absolutely, I agree.
Now I know that your wife is not Dominican. How does she do over here? How is it for her? Is it easy for her to make friends? I mean, does she socialize? She go out? And your daughters? Tell me about your daughters.
Well, the girls love it. At first it was an adjustment, but they're very social. Okay. So if you're social, this is like the right environment for you. You're not seen as a stranger or anything like that. My wife, she's more Dominican than me, I think.
Oh, yeah,
this morning she was in the salon, right? She goes to the gym, she has her community. She's built her community. She has a group of friends, so she doesn't like going back. As a matter of fact, her mom has to come visit.
Oh.
Right? Her mom has to come visit, so she loves it. And it's something that I think she's embraced. She's embraced the differences, she's embraced what life is like here, and she came with an open mind.
Okay.
It wasn't difficult. It was a little difficult at first because we had to adjust. Moving a family is completely different than moving just yourself, right? So learning about schools, banking, transferencias, like all the activities the schools do. Because here, there's a lot of activities in schools.
Man, kids have more activity
parents?
Than me. They grown people. Here you need to have an agenda. They have an agenda. You don't even have an agenda. They do.
Exactly. So at first it was a lot, but now we embrace it. We love it.
Yeah, that is nice and it's refreshing to hear that. People that are from here, they love it. They love to live here and stay here. And it is easy to make a community, to use friends. Because I have a question a lot. A lot of people ask me, how is it to make friends? Will my kids be able to adapt and make friends? And here is a very easy place.
I think it's also the parents too. The parents play a big role in that. You know, if you're locked in your house all day and you don't want to go out and meet people, that's on you.
That's on you. Right? But here, if you are willing to meet people, go out, man, you will have a big community. Because here, Dominican, they don't even know you. They're going to invite you to a barbecue or a weekend, let's go to the beach, let's do this, come to my house. And that's, you have no problem.
And that's one of the things that I do. That's why I do my networking events, so that people can meet other individuals, socialize, and ask questions, especially if you're moving here.
And my last question is, I already know the answer because you already mentioned it like 3, 4, 5 times.
I'm not moving back.
That one, I already got that clear. But city or campo?
Oh, okay. So it depends on the person. I've never lived in the campo. I want to try it out.
Okay.
Because the thing is, for me, is like I want to be able to grow my own food. I want to be able to eat my own food.
That's what I like.
Like that's for me is real wealth, right? The city is nice because you have restaurants, but it's just too chaotic. Like I'm about to be 40 this year. Take that out. I'm getting older by the year. Take out my age, Jake. Take out my age. I'm getting older by the year, and so for me, I'm now to the point in my life where, you know, I don't mind coming and get my doses of the city, but I prefer to be in the campo with a nice view. You know, my chickens running around, being able to go get my eggs, knocking down my plátanos. Like, so for me, the campo.
Okay, so you hear
This the view right here.
No, it's nice. It's nice. But be able to like, vecina, me faltó azúcar, whatever, like, you know.
Azúcar para café, el cafecito se me acabó.
And the people, man, the people from the campo, you can't beat them. They're kind-hearted.
So I think, is anything else that you think they would miss? I forgot that you want to say?
No, it's just, you know, if you're thinking about moving to Dominican Republic, you know, take it, you know, understand that, like I said it plenty of times, it's not perfect, but embrace what it offers. And most importantly, come out here with an open mind, because if you want to move here and expect for it to be like your home country, stay where you are. You're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, exactly. You're friend Jonas. So this was a very interesting conversation between two Dominicans, and I know Jonah have a big presence on social media, especially on Instagram. So we're gonna leave all his information down below his video. That way you can, if you have any question for him, you can contact him, or you can send me an email or ask me any question. And he also have a YouTube channel that we're gonna leave the information down below here as well. So this is all what we have right now. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and also share. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.